Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream. I am Stephen Torres, faculty director here at Career Launch, and today I'm with.
I'm Sean O'Keefe. I'm the founder, partner, and chief impact officer of Career Launch. Our mission is to partner with colleges and career programs to scale the skill set of helping students launch an effective and holistic internship and job search, especially for students with few to no connections. And we bring you these live streams, these student streams, as a means to provide opportunities for students to engage with Career Launch programming or the Career Launch method, who don't attend a school that we currently have a partnership set up with. So glad to have you all here today, and welcome, Karyn.
Hello, yes, welcome, Karyn. So today we have a special guest with us, Karyn Nguyen, who is one of the students who got a chance to go through a course that has the Career Launch method embedded in it. Karyn, welcome to the stream today.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, so let's talk a little bit about this. Talk a little bit about you. Where are you from, Karyn?
I'm originally from San Jose, California, so very local to Santa Clara.
Okay, awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, you actually went through this curriculum. You found it as a first year student. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So for my freshman year, I heard about Business 71, and the topic was basically foundations of leadership. And she was just interested in learning more about business and leadership and was telling me all the great things about it. And since I was considering an econ minor at that time, I thought it would be a great idea to try out this 2-unit elective.
Awesome. And in that class, Sean has embedded the career launch method. And so I'm curious, as a first year student, how much were you actually thinking about, like, in 4 years, I have to get a job?
Yeah,
Was
that's
that
a
like there? Tell us.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So actually at that time when I was a freshman, only 18 years old, I was just really considering doing a STEM major, and I was really looking forward to being pre-pharmacy at that time. And I
Mm.
only just had a really small interest in economics and business. And so when I heard about this class, I thought it would be a great opportunity just to learn more and just explore in that sense. And so at that time, I really wasn't looking into the business world, like joining the
Hmm.
professional world, or even really thinking about getting a job, because pharmacy school was another 3 years after undergrad. And so
Hmm.
I was really just taking it for fun. And I'm really grateful that I learned all those skills, but I honestly didn't really take it seriously and really realize the importance of the skills I learned until later on in college.
Man, that's so awesome. And I think, Sean, I want to bring you in on this because sometimes I think, maybe faculty, and I speak as a faculty myself, we have this idea that maybe only certain students would benefit from even considering, like, if someone wants to go into medical school, there's all this stuff, they don't have to worry about a job because they have all this training and stuff. But what Karyn's saying is that, look, I had something different planned, didn't really think about it, but it was still beneficial. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's important for everybody to understand that regardless of what someone's major is, the skills are transferable.
Without a doubt. Students plan to go to law school. You said medical school. For you, Karyn, it was going to be pharmacy school. I think 20% of student undergrads go to grad school right out of college across the country. And so some students had a lot of the students in that 20% have the same mindset that Karyn just shared with us. I'm not sure I need this, because my point of launching my career, if you will, is going to be pretty far down the road as a first year student who knows they're going to go to grad school afterwards. But if they're in a class where they're forced in a good way to do career development, and more specifically to build social capital, to build relationships with professionals, not only is it a skill set that helps set the foundation of something that the student will use post-graduation for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their life, but there also can be immediate benefits of discernment, and being able to have conversations to realize, do I really want to do what I think I want to do? And sometimes the answer to that question is yes, and sometimes it's no. And and even if it is yes, and the student is still going to plan to go to grad school right after college, they say, oh, wow, a lot of students think, well, I want to expand my horizons. And even though I'm headed down this track, I have the opportunity to utilize my time and through this relationship building aspect in conversations to open doors for maybe some internships or volunteer work or part-time jobs, just so I can get a flavor for things that may or may not be associated with the long-term track that I'm on, just to gain more experiences.
Yeah. And Karyn, so I want to talk about that a little bit because you had this idea originally of, okay, I'm going to, be in medicine, go to pharmacy
Mhm.
school,
Mhm.
and you weren't thinking about business or econ, but you were curious about it too, right?
Yeah, I was just genuine curiosity about like how this would just like what am I learning from this and how can I actually just apply this to maybe some clubs I'm part of, and I was looking to just be on board for a few clubs I was involved in, and I thought it would
Hmm.
just be really a helpful thing to just learn about like what is leadership and how can I just be a better leader in the community.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, that is really big with this program, and Sean, you referenced it, is being able to build social capital. Right.
Hmm.
And so I want to talk about this, Karyn, with you and your experience as a first year student. As you were kind of going through this, learning about networking,
Hmm.
how did you take that as a first year student? Because sometimes we hear like, oh yeah, you should build your network. It's not what you know, it's who you know. But
Yeah.
as a first year student, you're not exactly sure, right? Do I need this stuff? Tell us about that.
Yeah, you're so right about the networking is everything. I've just come to learn that and hear that so often. But as a first year, I did not hear it as often, and I didn't really know what networking was. And when the concept was introduced to me, I was still really fresh out of high school, still a little bit shy, and it was seemed just like very a little daunting to me, honestly. And having that assignment of doing an informational interview and
Mm.
going to the campus and reaching out to an adult and not calling them with a title is just it's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's just something very
I
new to
want
me
to
and
ask,
mhm.
what made it daunting to you? What you said it was daunting. Tell us what made it daunting to you.
Yeah, I think it's just like being 18 years old and in high school, you call people that are older than you, like parents or adults, like Mr., Mrs., Miss. And this is like you're speaking to professional, but it's kind of like a more conversational type
Hmm.
situation where it's just, you can call them by their first name and they're just very casual with you and they just want to tell you about their experiences and it's just gaining more information. But I was just genuinely scared of speaking to someone that was just like so higher up and doing like adulting things, and I was just being so young. I felt like I wasn't like qualified to be taking their time, but Sean has taught me that it's people are more than willing to help out and speak to students that just want to gain more insight and are kind of young and early in their career.
Wow, that is so profound. And I hope everybody out there who's listening understands what Karyn just said. Because what she was talking about, and I love the adulting part, is that she was going through this, almost, inflection point of being an adult, right? So
Hmm.
she was going through the transition of adulting, and that's what building social capital is, and that's scary,
Yeah,
right? It's
it definitely was.
hard
Yeah.
because what do you feel when you're like, okay, I'm a student, I just
Mhm.
graduated high school, and now I'm talking to
Mhm.
this professional who's in a job. What does that
Yeah.
feel like, Karyn?
Yeah, it was, yeah, again, just a bit scary. I remember the person that I was able to get an informational interview with, and she was just a really um, qualified person. She had an MBA, she went to the Ivy Leagues, and she was working a big manager job at Apple. And I was like, why would she take the time out of her day to meet with a freshman that is not entirely sure what they want to do and what career they want? And so I just felt like just like out of place, I guess, at first. And
Mm-hmm.
just like when I grew a bit older in college, I just come to learn that it's very natural and it's something that they want to do. And if they didn't want to reply to you, they wouldn't, but they did, and they're more than happy to help.
Yeah, and Sean, we've talked about this before on student streams, is giving students the permission and the why actual professionals are willing to do that. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because this is so important, and I think it's one of the curriculum pieces that many times universities, not that they don't understand it, but that they sometimes, because they have so many balls in the air that they have to keep juggling, sometimes they may forget that students need permission to make these connections and build their confidence. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. First, I want to say, just add a piece of clarity. Some Karyn said about professionals. Talking to them, they want you to call them by their first names. There are cases. There's a lot of cases where you reach out using Mr. or Miss, and then right away, most of the time, in Karyn's experience and students across the country, as soon as you get on this career conversation, video chat, or if it was before the post-pandemic, in person maybe, the professional a lot of times says, "Oh, please don't call me Mr. and Miss. Please call me by my first name." And they just set the table right away. Like, look, I just want to have conversation with you, share some wisdom with you. You asked to take this meeting. Please just call me by my first name. But sometimes in the outreach, especially in the method we talk about, people in their 20s, it's probably fine to use first names. Once you start to get someone in their 30s, but definitely in 40s and 50s, it's probably to err on the side of using Mr. or Miss. Just a small disclaimer on that. But almost every time, once you actually have the meeting, they're like, please call me by my first name. Let's just keep this informal. I want to help you wherever you need help and share with the information that you want. Getting to the piece of students being apprehensive, thinking, like Karyn said, I don't know if someone's going to want to take a meeting with me, have a conversation with me. But there are 6 main reasons, and we don't have time to get into all 6 today. But two of the biggest ones, that reasons why professionals say yes to students, is one is they have empathy. They remember what it was like to be a college student, whether or not they did career conversations themselves as a means to build social capital and land internships and jobs. Whether they did that or not, they remember being a student and having their life in front of them and having wonder about, how is my life going to play out? I put a lot of time and money into my education, and I'm wondering how things are going to work out from here. And it's for any college student, it's there's that maybe a little bit of stress or anxiety about the wonder of what is going to happen. And so professionals, when they receive outreach from a student, they remember what that experience was like for them, and they have empathy. And so they go, you know what? And of course, the way we teach outreach is in a professional manner, and we flatter the professional, and we're very specific on the way we reach out, so that we create this environment in which the professional says, yeah, you know what? I would like to help out. Because not only do they have empathy, they want to pay it forward. Like, no one has success in a silo, or all by themselves. Everyone, gets to where they are by having help from someone at some point. And a lot of times it's a lot of help by a lot of people. And so, professionals out there that, some are philanthropists, some donate their time, their money, or both. And then some folks kind of get busy with life and they want to give back to society, but they sometimes just get busy with their family lives or their professional lives, and both. And so then when they see a student reaching out and they have an opportunity to pay it forward, and help someone, and they're asking for a 20-minute career conversation, the student, actually, the way we teach the method, we kind of make it easy for the professional to say yes. Not everyone says yes, of course, but a lot of people do if you go about it the right way. And so totally understand that, people, students have apprehension, but just know there are many reasons. There's 6 main reasons that are in the book, but those are the 2 biggest reasons why why professionals will say yes. One is they have empathy, and 2, they want to pay it forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I can speak to that. When people call me Mr. Torres, I'm like, my dad's here? Where's my dad? Right. I'm like, no, call me Steven. So I definitely get that. So let's, Karyn, let's talk about this. You're going through this class as a first year student. You're kind of expanding your comfort zone. And where did it go from there? Because I know when we spoke yesterday a little bit about this, you talked about how things just happened and you didn't come back to really engaging even till, a year or two later. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think this is an important part that sometimes people feel, if you take a class, you expect to do it like that day and that's it.
Hmm.
But the content, the way this method works, is it's something that's not just for the class. It's something that you use this skill over and over again. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely the skills that I learned in the class were lifelong skills. And when I reflect back on it, it's honestly, I'm very thankful that I took it because in the professional world, it's just basic skills that everyone says that they wish they learned
Yeah.
in school. And thankfully, so happened to find this class and just take this elective for fun and gain these life skills that everyone wished that they had like mandatory that was mandatory in college. And so, yeah, I did take the class freshman year. And at that time, like I said, I was really interested in doing pharmacy or just staying on that science STEM route. And it wasn't until around the end of sophomore year, going into junior year, where I really solidified being an econ major and started really looking at business internships. And towards the end of my junior year, I was really just getting everything together and finally
Mm-hmm.
realizing like it's time to really, really wake up. Where I did have a few internships, but it's time to really take it seriously and try to stand out and do the best I can so that I can really prepare myself well for senior year and for the job search. And so going into my junior year internship, I was like, I think I remember taking a class about this where I learned these hard skills that everyone's talking all about on LinkedIn. And so I was building off of the foundation I had from freshman year. And I was able to really just hone in on those skills during my internship. And I think that was what really just helped me succeed in the job search. So I'm really
Mm-hmm.
thankful for all that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that, whenever someone learns this method, right, whether it's embedded in a class like you've had it, or, they get the book, go through one of our courses at one of our partner universities, or, get the workbook,
Hmm.
the skills are not, you use it once and that's it, right? It's
Yeah.
really a method and a process to, as Sean said earlier, build that social capital. And so as you're using this, um, how did it help you like solidify those job offers and get things going?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think something that I forgot to mention was I think what really I learned from this having this foundation was just gaining the confidence and again having that permission to ask for help. And so going into the job search, I was doing a decent amount of career conversations because I wanted to narrow down what positions I wanted to apply for. And also, if people were willing, I would be more than happy to have a referral and possibly, honestly, just learn more about their experience. And that was honestly the main motive for that. And so when I was applying for a lot of jobs, I was able to narrow down. And more specifically, on the job that I ended up accepting, I got help from one of my career conversations where I just reached out on LinkedIn to someone that had the internship version of the program that I was applying to, and also actually recently interviewed for that same position that I wanted. And so I think it's also important that having these career conversations, it doesn't have to be a seasoned professional, really. This person is the same year as me. He's a senior in college, and he was really helpful to me and really gave a lot of great tips and tricks for me that I was able to utilize in the interview process.
Okay, so wait, we got to talk about this. So you're interviewing for a job,
Hmm.
and you decided to reach out to someone who already had the job.
Yeah, basically.
Why would you do that?
Does sound crazy, but going into the job search again, I really wanted to do well and put my all into it. And so I was reading on LinkedIn, and I've just been gaining a lot of great insight and advice. And someone said, you should reach out to the people that you want, like they're in a position that you want to be in. And this guy is the same year in college as me. He had the internship version of this, so he has personal experience of how he enjoyed the internship or not, and he is an incoming financial analyst, and he's going to be the same cohort as me starting next year. And I was like, well, he must have gone through the process recently. I would love to hear about like what it was like for him. And he was very happy to meet with me and was really honestly rooting for me even though we just met. So I'm really just like overwhelmed with that, and I didn't think that it would work, but it's something very different. But again, building off of those foundations.
Folks, I hope you get that. Don't miss that, right? That this process and what you learn is going to help you, even though, I mean, this is a person who's basically in your same cohort, right, Karyn?
Yeah, exactly. He is.
And so, Sean, I want to bring you in and talk about this because this is so important. Many students don't get this, right? They don't understand that, hey, if I want something, there's this process I could go to and find the people maybe who did it, who are just a little bit ahead of me or who have gone through me, and I could learn from them. Right? What is it about the method that allows students to kind of break that mental barrier and take these kind of leaps like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, if you start in Karen's case, she started with her very first career conversation was with an executive at Apple. So I think after an experience like that, reaching out to someone who's the same year in school as you is not as scary, right? And so you want to do both, right? You want to meet with people who have authority within an organization to possibly hire you directly, but sometimes you can't access those people, or sometimes you can access those people, but they can provide you information in a career conversation, and they can get you into an interview process. But there's going to be a process with other folks involved in the decision making on who gets hired. So students should also do exactly what Karyn did and contact people in the position or people who just got the position, and learn about the interview process so they can be more prepared to do a good job in the interview process. So doing both, right? And that's where if you break in the skin of the apple, to use an analogy, and you've done a career conversation with someone in management or mid-level management, it's not as daunting, to use Karyn's words, to reach out to someone, and then you're really best positioning yourself because you're getting insights from the ground floor, and from the people in the hiring positions.
So this is so important, and I hope everybody understands this, that anybody can do this, right? I mean, Karyn, like if we would have talked to you before you went through this method and you built this confidence, when you were in high school and said, oh, you're going to be talking to executives, your first year at Apple, you're going to actually talk to someone who went through the exact same process and reach out to them as you're going through the process so that it gives you an advantage, right? You probably, what would you have been thinking? Oh yeah, for sure, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it just sounds like, unreal. And just honestly, for someone that was pretty introverted and pretty scared of going in and seeing and meeting with adults, it just seems very daunting. But one thing I forgot to add that I think is also really important that I told Sean when we were during our last conversation was that it kind of is like a domino effect, because after I did that and I went through the last few interviews and was considering all the offers that I had and I accepted it, and I just added it to my LinkedIn, saying I'm really excited to be doing this, and I'm looking forward to starting this position next year. A lot of people actually reached out to me and said, "Oh, congratulations! How did you do it?" And a lot of people, the really proactive ones, actually wanted to set up a conversation with me. And I'm like, "Why me? I'm just a senior in college. I've just started." And then I was like, "Oh, well, it's something similar, because just like the guy that I reached out to." And again, I was honestly more than happy to help, because I was just in their shoes the other day, and I felt like it would be a really great opportunity to also give back to people that are also being proactive about their job search.
Wow, that is just awesome. Awesome. Well, we're almost up against our time here. I'm curious, Sean, any last minute thoughts that you want to give out there, maybe to students who are kind of like Karyn, that they're not sure where they're at, maybe they're looking at law school or they're looking at advanced degrees and they know that their career is way down the road, or maybe even a career counselor at a university that has students like that. What advice would you share based on, Karyn's story?
Yeah, I'd like to touch on the introvert part that she just talked about. I'm a natural born introvert. I've learned to be extroverted over the years, and I can tell you, just knowing Karyn 4 years ago as a first year student, now as a senior, she's worked on it. She's developed confidence, and she can be extroverted. That doesn't mean she's not naturally an introvert. She is, but now she's learned because she has more confidence. And that's probably one of the most rewarding thing. You know, I love the outcomes that people get through the career launch and the amazing stories about landing internships and jobs that students identify are the ones that they want. But just as great as that is when students say, "I've built self-confidence," because that is something we hear over and over again. And to the students out there, and to any career counselors, career success coaches, faculty that may be listening or watching, is really spending some time and on the psychology of getting students over the mental blocks of thinking I'm not good enough, or why would a professional want to meet with me? Because that part is just as important as having a step-by-step method. And so, Karyn, thanks for sharing that nugget. It reminds me of so many other students that were highly introverted, used the method, it gave them self-confidence, and now they're more comfortable being extroverted. Not that they are an extrovert, but they're comfortable being more outgoing. So thanks for that.
Absolutely, yes. Karyn, here in our last couple minutes, I'm curious, what thoughts would you share to, again, those students out there who maybe they don't have a chance to go through this curriculum embedded in a class like you did? What advice would you share with them?
Yeah, I think after going through all of this, I think just putting effort and caring about what you want in the future is just something that you just have to put your head down and do. And if you want something, you can just put in the work. And I think something that Sean talked about in the beginning of the class during my freshman year was that he was saying, like, I wasn't always the smartest person in the room. I didn't get straight A's in college, but he really put in the work and had career conversations, put time and effort into his resume and his interviewing skills. And I really resonated with that because, again, I never would say I'm the smartest person in the room, and I always don't get straight A's in college, but I really cared about my future, and I wanted to put all the effort and give it my all anytime I could. And in doing that, I feel like anything is truly possible. And again, with what Sean just said, if you're introverted and you're a little bit shy at first, it's honestly a skill that you can learn and build off of. And that's something that I'm really happy that I was able to learn and also just grow and gain that self-confidence throughout college.
Wow, that's just awesome, Karyn. All right, for all of you out there, if this is something that's interesting to you, I highly encourage you to go to launchyourcareerbook.com/preview. You can get 2 chapters of the book that'll be released next week, so you can get some of these tips that Karyn got in her class that was embedded. Read those chapters if you like. You can also pre-order the book before it comes out. There's also a workbook that I know is very, very valuable, but go check that out. I want to thank you, Karyn, for coming and sharing your story with us. Of course, thank you, Sean. That's it for our live stream today. We will see you all next week for our final live stream of the spring. And then we take our break for the summer, and we'll be back, of course, during the fall. Thank you so much, everybody. We're done for today. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Karyn.
Thank you, everyone.